Namaskar to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. It's a pleasure to welcome each one of you on behalf of ET Edge and all our partners to Drive Tech 2017, the Automotive Technology and Engineering Summit. Thank you to all of you for joining us, and a special thanks to our guest of honor, Mr. R.C. Bhargava, joining us this morning. Thank you, sir, for taking out time and being with us. And ladies and gentlemen, this is one seminar, one conference which brings together the various stakeholders across the value chain on one platform. We have the industry stalwarts, the veterans from the Indian industry. We have the global players present with us, the automobile manufacturers, the auto component manufacturers, the technology and the engineering experts and solution providers, the heads and the senior representatives from various automobile associations, the innovators, the creators, the designers, and then all the other stakeholders across the value chain as we get together to discuss and look into more the future of the automobile industry, especially in the wake of the new advancements which we are seeing, whether it is in terms of new innovations, the technology innovations, or in terms of manufacturing, other engineering solutions which are coming in, also the various norms and regulations which are being now set forth by the government, or the EMP 2026, the vision document which has already been laid collectively by the government and the industry. And also we look into the global footprints of the Indian industry, the carbon footprints of the Indian automobile industry, and what the industry and the government together are doing towards making this industry more safe, more cost efficient, more responsive, more responsible, more eco-friendly in all these changes which are happening. We are going to be discussing in detail towards it. And then we are going to be also having a little deeper look into the futuristic mobility, especially now that we have entered the SMAC era, the smart mobility, analytics and cloud computing with artificial intelligence and Internet of Things, additive manufacturing. What is the further future of automation of the automobile industry with Industry 4.0 and Smart Factory? We discuss it with our various stakeholders in this day-long discussion. So thank you to all of you for joining us, and ET Edge has always been in the forefront in bringing these new innovations and revolutionary changes in the industry through platforms like this. So now to welcome you all on behalf of ET Edge, I would like to invite here the Senior Director Conferences of ET Edge, Mr. Aman Kanchlia, to address you all and for his welcome address. Aman.
Good morning, everybody. Distinguished speakers, renowned leaders, and experts of the Indian automobile industry. I welcome you all to Drive Tech 4.0, India's premier platform for the automobile industry. A century after Henry Ford introduced the moving assembly line, the automotive industry has come a long way, integrating banks of robots, computers, and other automation into a high-tech manufacturing process to produce more reliable, connected, and intelligent automobiles. Today, the entire value chain has evolved and uses technology in some form or the other. Technology and innovation are playing key roles from product design to production, planning, engineering, execution, and services. One of the unique features of the Indian automobile industry is that there are lots of variations and options for buyers to choose from. Sports cars, luxurious cars, cars specially imported, cars for the nuclear family, and the budget-conscious buyer. The aspirations of the consumers are constantly changing. They will always look for an option that is more lucrative, which I'm sure will make the automobile manufacturers rejoice. Automobile is one of the fortunate sectors, I might say, where consumers don't really mind stretching themselves for those extra features, looks, and comforts. The Economic Times presents this day-long event discussion, Drive Tech 4.0, that gets the stalwarts from the automobile industry together to discuss the changing technology and challenges in the sector, the roadblock it faces, and the way forward. Drive Tech 4.0 also proposes to intersperse these discussions with tech presentations to demonstrate new innovations and various component and automobile from various component automobile manufacturers. Most importantly, this event will also aim to provide a platform for budding and promising designers, technologists, and manufacturers in the automobile industry, a platform where they can meet their real superstars and seek advice and mentorship. I encourage each one of you to make the best use of today's summit and bring forth meaningful discussions and deliberations. Thank you all.
Thank you, Aman. And before we move forward, we would also like to express our thanks to all our partners in success in organizing this conference. Many thanks to our title partners, Bajaj Alliance. This summit is co-powered by Total and Rocket Batteries. Many thanks to them. Our technology partners, ANSYS, media partners, Top Gear and Mechanist, and our live webcast partner, 24 Frames Digital. And throughout the day, if you want to tweet, you want to send in any information, you kindly feel free. Our hashtag ET Drive Tech Summit, you can tweet on that. And so now as we open these doors for more learning and towards more discussions and deliberations with all of you, at the very outset we try to gauge how the future is going to be looking into. And I think the best person to advise us and to help us do this crystal gazing is a veteran of the auto industry, someone who brings in a lot of experience and expertise and who completely revolutionized the Indian auto space with Maruti. So how this industry is going to be shaping up in the wake of these developments, whether it is automation or it is indigenization or digitization or even demonetization for that matter. I would like to invite Mr. R.C. Bhargava, the chairman of Maruti India.
Thank you. A very good morning and many thanks to the ET organizers of this conference for having given me this opportunity of being here. It was just said that I would be the best person to talk about the future of this industry in India. I don't think that is at all accurate, because the future of this industry is now in the hands of so many people who in various ways influence this industry and whose actions are not always very predictable, that making any predictions is always a very risky proposition. However, what is certain is that motorization of India will proceed. It will happen. People have one of the most aspirational products which anybody wants is still a car. What kind of technology the cars will use, what kind of cars will be made, whether we'll have driverless cars is something which time will show. But for example, we were talking of using artificial intelligence and perhaps of driverless cars. I can't see the relevance of driverless cars in India. Our biggest problem in this country is finding employment. And as long as there are enough people available for driving cars, it doesn't make sense to create some kind of a system where you just take away millions of jobs from people. Anyway, but that's something different. Technology is something which is always in the forefront of making life better for people in all walks of life. And it has been so, and it will continue to be so. And that equally holds in the automobile sector, where there has been enormous advances of technology in the last a couple of decades, and the customer experience of driving cars, the kind of fuel efficiency which cars have improved over time, the reduction of weight, reduction of materials, the improvement in environment because of much better ways of burning fuel and all of the new technologies that are coming in. I think that's all part of this. Cars themselves incorporate a whole lot of new technologies today, and the younger generation is so tech savvy that I think this trend will continue, and whether the cars become big or small is another matter, but what is certain is that they will be heavily loaded with all kinds of technology, gizmos, which appeal to the younger generation. So I'm not even going to talk of that. There are two areas which are particularly relevant both in terms of technology for the consumer, but which are also relevant because they heavily impact on society. And I think what the automobile industry has to be most concerned about is not only the technology appropriateness for the changing demands of their customers, but they have also to be aware of the requirements of society in terms of the impact of automobiles on the environment and the safety of not only the users of the automobiles, but of all road users in general. Because this is one product which does impact on both of these factors, and it is important to look at that. At the same time, I think it is relevant to mention that automobile technology by itself is not the only factor which impacts on either the environmental effect of automobiles or on the safety of the road users, including the users of the automobiles. There are many, many other factors. And policy makers, technology developers, enforcers of technology all have to take into account what are the major causes of the problems they have to deal with, in terms of priority are the more important issues which need attention first, and how to deal with those problems, keeping in view the governance and administrative capabilities which exist in India. I'm mentioning this because a lot of technologies or a lot of regulations which govern safety, which govern environment, can be very effectively implemented in several countries in the world. They are, as experience will show, has shown us, they're not so effectively implemented in India because like most or many other laws in India or many other regulations in India, what is said on paper and what happens on the ground have a wide difference. And we are all aware of what I'm talking about, that there's a huge gap between the regulation requirements of the legal requirements and the actual practice on the ground. And attitudes of people have changed, and therefore it would be unrealistic for any policymaker or any technology content which is given to policymakers if you do not take into account how best that technology can be implemented in the ground. Because it's no point having a regulation or having a technology if it only remains on paper and the results on the ground are very different from what is intended. But unfortunately, that continues to happen, and I think many people are quite satisfied if they have put down on paper what should be done, but are not so much concerned on what is actually done. Let's take the case of environment. Now, we all are aware that Delhi and lots of cities in India are very heavily polluted. In fact, we are probably the most polluted air quality in any country in the world almost, I would say. So we all talk of pollution, but I wonder how many people really know what pollution is. Sure, it means bad air, it means in some way or the other your health suffers because of bad air, but what is actually the cause of pollution? We tend to go by what we hear from elsewhere, read elsewhere. We know that in the Western countries, this air pollution is almost entirely attributable to the NOx from cars. And over the years, the governments and the automobile companies have been working to develop technologies which will reduce the NOx, and along with that, CO and CO2 and such things in cars, so that the air quality becomes better. So in India also we assume that pollution of in Delhi or Bombay or anywhere else means automobile pollution, because it means that in the other parts of the world. But it's not true. We have made lots of policies, lots of decisions by various authorities in this country, which are based on the assumption that the air quality in Delhi is as bad as it is because of cars. These decisions were taken without any access to a proper scientific study of the factors which were causing the air in India to be bad, whether the factors were the same as in the Western countries, whether the causes of these factors being present in the air were actually automobiles, cars, or something else. But decisions were taken, and we followed practices which have been adopted in various countries in the world, not necessarily all the developed countries, but other countries also, hoping something will happen. And as we see year after year in Delhi, the air quality does not improve. Some of these actions taken by the authorities did lead to a lot of public inconvenience, led to a lot of economic loss, led to a lot of foreign investors getting a little bit concerned about India's policies for allowing foreign investments to work in India because of the kind of actions which were taken. What I'm saying is that the first time that somebody made a study, it came out that the actual pollution problem in Delhi is not NOx at all. It is particulate emission, particularly PM 2.5 and to an extent PM 10. And that cause of pollution is way, way above any other cause. And NOx levels, even in a city like Delhi, which has the highest density of vehicles, I'm using the word vehicles now, not cars, even there the NOx levels have just about managed to remain within the acceptable limits put down by the authorities. Now, if the cause of pollution in Delhi, or if the pollutants in Delhi is particulate pollution, pollutants 2.5 and PM10, then how does the adoption of a technology and a regulation which has worked in Europe or worked in Japan become any value to the Indian context? Obviously, it's a wrong remedy for a different kind of thing. A correct diagnosis is required before you apply any kind of solution. And the study again, which was done by the IIT Kanpur, and so far I think it's the only comprehensive study so far, though I think IIT Delhi has also done some work in this area, is that the sources of this PM 2.5 basically are many. They come from roadside dust, they come from building activities, demolition activities, they come from burning municipal waste, they come from fly ash, they come from industry, they come from many sources. The cars, according to IIT Kanpur, contribute 2% of the particulates. Two-wheelers contribute something like 6.6% of the particulates. Commercial vehicles contribute some 9 point some percentage of the particulates. But if you read here and see what decisions are taken, it all appears that cars are the main pollutants. And even today, you talk to most people, they will say, oh, cars are very polluting. Sure, cars pollute. But cars pollute to an extent which at the moment keeps us below danger levels. It is important that in future we should not let pollution from cars go above these danger levels. That's important, and we have all to work to make sure that happens. But it's not going to solve the problem of pollution in Delhi. The other factor to remember is that we are on the road to motorization. When vehicles are far, far cleaner than what they used to be when countries like Europe or the USA or Japan motorized. They motorized before all these Euro 4 and Euro 3 and all were anywhere in the picture. We are motorizing now when it's already Euro 4, and in another 3 years' time, it'll be Euro 6. Euro 6 is a very clean standard. And therefore, remember, our motorization is going to happen with vehicles which are far cleaner than what any other country in the world experienced when they motorized. That factor also has to be kept in mind by the policymakers and by people who are looking at technology. So my point here is that if we want to deal with the environment problem in automobiles, we need to properly look at facts and data and then take decisions keeping those facts in mind, not because it's not politically convenient to do it or it's more politically convenient to say that cars are the pollutants and such things. We come to electric cars. I think that's one of the subjects which you're going to talk about. Electric cars today have been, people have been developing electric cars for decades. If you look at the data about the use of electric cars world over, you'll find that a company like Toyota does not make electric cars. And a major company like Volkswagen, their electric car production is less than 0.2% of their total production. No country in the world has a high market share for electric vehicles. All around 1 point some percent is the maximum that it goes. I think the US is the highest at 1 point some percent. So that's the consumer acceptance. I'm mentioning this because consumer acceptance is a major factor in any technology. If the consumer doesn't accept it, there must be something defective in the technology. Otherwise, why is the consumer not implementing it despite all the concessions and promotions which many governments are doing for electric cars? In India, for example, besides the fact that there's a shortage of electricity, that almost 70% of our electricity, 69%, is generated by thermal power. I'm not counting the captive power stations which exist. And thermal power, coal-burning power, it has its own areas of pollution. So whether you're really helping the environment by using electric cars is one issue. Consumers are worried about many factors relating to electric cars, but including the range and such things. But the biggest factor in India is, where does a consumer get his electric car charged every day? Where is the infrastructure? The only people who can charge the electric cars are people who have garages or who have their own driveways where they can have a power point. The majority of people park their cars out in the open on the roadsides. Where do they park their cars? And the third factor in the consumer mind is that all the major components of electric cars, whether it's the lithium-ion battery, whether it's the AC-DC converter, whether it's the motors, are all imported. Nothing is made in India. Okay, nothing wrong in that. But the problem comes along then when in the maintenance phase you want parts. As people who have been running imported cars in India know, when it comes to parts of imported cars, availability is a problem. Often the cars remain off the road for a long time and costs are high. So these are all factors which a consumer is not willing to accept. In India, he cannot accept these factors except for the very rich people who have a number of cars and they can afford their cars to be off the road and costs are not so important. The point therefore is that electric cars in India are only a product which a very small niche market exists, and that's the market for the rich people. It's not a market for the common man. It cannot be for a long time. Besides the fact that, in the light of what I said earlier about the causes of our pollution, how does it help if in that 2% you make a dent and that 2% comes down to 1%, if the other 98% of pollution is not handled? So that's the other timing issue. What is the appropriate time for electric cars to come to India? I don't know if I'm taking too long. The same thing applies to safety. We have a lot of safety standards coming along and we are getting new and new regulations coming along for safety. Despite all the safety, the accidents in India are not reducing. We have again no data about the cause of accidents. Generally, the police write down most accidents as driver fault. Now, whether it's true or not, nobody knows. It's exactly just what's written in the records, because we have no data collection on this factor of what causes road accidents. What we do know is that getting a license to drive a car or to drive a truck is not at all evidence that the person either knows how to drive properly, he knows the rules of the road, he knows how to do safe driving. The driving schools which we have today, the private driving schools mostly, most of them do not have the facilities to give proper training. We do not have the infrastructure for proper training of drivers, and licenses are given to people on other considerations than their ability to drive or to know how to drive correctly. So it's not surprising if driver fault causes accidents. Vehicle fitness inspection exists only on paper. You have to pay a certain amount of money, you get your fitness certificate. Again, a lot of accidents are caused because of failure of some essential component of a car. Spurious spare parts, again a cause of accidents. Lack of enforcement of any of the laws relating to driving and the rules of the law. We have had now a new act coming along which makes the fines for various offenses much stronger. Good, it should be stronger because our fines were absurdly low. But the question is, what is about the enforcement of it? And unless we use technology in a big way in enforcing rules of the road, it won't happen. The design of the roads, they're not designed for safety. There are a lot of accidents which happen because roads are badly designed. And so on, so there are a number of issues. So the question which one has to ask is that, okay, as manufacturers, we'll do our bit, we'll put in the airbags and all the cars and we'll get crash tests done and everything. But will it actually reduce the incidence of accidents if these other causes of accidents, which are really the causes of accidents, are not removed? The absence or presence of an airbag or the absence or presence of crash test doesn't have anything to do with the occurrence of an accident. And prevention of accidents is the first step for safety. The factors which I am talking about come into play when you have an accident. But why do we have so many accidents? I think that's something which needs to be tackled at least as urgently as putting in all these safety measures. It's not that one or the other is required, but both are required. It's not happening. So the point I'm making is that we need to be more concerned with the end results of what we do. We should not be happy if we find that the paper says that we have done all the right things, that we are as good as the best in the world because our paper says we are the best in the world, unless the ground results show that we are also improving and are as good as any in the world. Till that time, we cannot say that we have applied technology effectively in India. So thank you for giving me this opportunity of expressing my views, and I wish the conference all success.
Thank you so much, sir, for in fact setting the context of our discussions. And as you said, we need to get first the small acts right rather than moving into the bigger things, as you, certain concerns which you in fact spoke about, which have been hyped, especially the cars polluting. That is where we need to look into technology solutions. Yes, just aping it from the West is not right. Getting the technologies which are able to address the challenges and the problems of this country, especially when you talk about also the driverless cars. Probably in a country where the employment problem is there, these kind of cars are not going to be much in same event for the electric cars. But then the future, of course, for the automobile industry is bright. We are going to be seeing more cars on the road. That is where the enforcement or the implementation of rules and laws need to be more rather than getting them off the roads. So thank you so very much, sir, for all these insights. And to express thanks to Mr. Bhargava, I would like to request Ms. Archana Tiwari to please present a small token of our gratitude and appreciation. May I request you, sir, to please join us once again here, sir. Yeah. We can be here, I think, the photographer. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate your thoughts. Thank you indeed. And one of the concerns which was raised, or the challenge again which we have in towards driving, is safe driving, and of course with that the smart driving. Now, Bajaj Alliance is coming up with a new service which ensures this safe and smart driving, coming up with a service which also ensures cutting down on cost and the safety aspect. I would not like to steal the thunder, so I would like to invite the presenter of Drive Smart, Mr. Adarsh Agarwal, the head actuarial of Bajaj Alliance, for his presentation.
Good morning, everyone. I think all of you must be wondering that, we are talking about automotive technology and engineering, so what's the role of insurance in this? And insurance industry is considered as laggard when it comes to use of technology. But in Bajaj Alliance, we are trying to change and we are trying to adopt technology to benefit for our customers. And Drive Smart is one of our initiatives in the same direction. So we started with Drive Smart in July 2016. It's been about 5 months, and we have got pretty good success in this plan. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what is Drive Smart and how it can help the customers and how it helps the insurance industry. So there are main 4 pillars on which we worked on. So when we think of telematics, the idea comes is that you put something in your car, insurance companies monitoring your driving habits, how much you drive, and accordingly they reduce your premium or charge more premium. That's the basic concept of telematics when it comes to. So there are many things like pay as you drive or pay how you drive. But when it comes to India, if we look at the typical average ticket size or the premium, average premium in a private car is about 7,000, 8,000 rupees. And if we talk about, let's say, 10% reduction in that, so that's about 700, 800 rupees. So that's not a big enough incentive for a customer to adopt the technology, or to allow the insurance to monitor the driver. So what happens, we thought about it, and after a lot of research, what we found is, until unless we are going to give our customers something much more than the premium saving, and it's not going to succeed in India. So that's why if you look at our 4 pillars are safety, security, savings, and convenience, which I will talk about. So what happens with telematics, there are 2 models of telematics. One thing is where you put some device in your car which collects data from the car and sends it on the cloud, and where the data can be analyzed and again shown back to you. Another application is where you don't put any device in the car. You use your mobile application, and with your mobile you track your car and other things. But we decided to use the first approach where we put the device, because that's more real time and that's more reliable. And as I said, it leads the pay to pay as you drive or pay how you drive. The advantages to the insurance company, we know how the customers are driving. So what happens as of now, all the insurance company, they price based on the make, model, fuel, whether the claim was made last year or not. But we don't know anything about customer. So we don't know about customer, whether he's a young driver, whether he's an old driver with city. City we know some, but not exactly. And we don't know how he drives. So that's where, this Drive Smart helps us to do better pricing. And we move away from make model based pricing to customer based pricing. That's the whole idea of bringing this in. With respect to customer, as I said, premium saving is definitely going to be one, if provided you are a good driver. Apart from that, Drive Smart provides a ecosystem around your car. So there are various things which, Drive Smart helps to the customer when you are driving your vehicle, and I will touch upon them in the next slides. So we are the first company in India to launch this telematics. There are other players who tried it, but as of now, there is no great success. We also, I won't say we have done really great. It's been just 5 months. But as of now, what we see is adoption is very good. We have got about 3,500 odd customers on our platform, for which we are getting the data. And now next stage will be linking that data, providing that inputs to the customer, and also deciding on the pricing on that basis. And as I said, at Bajaj Allianz, we believe in relationship beyond insurance. So what happens typically in insurance company, usually if we look at private car, the claim frequency is about 20-25%. So out of 100 policies we sold, only 20 or 25 people will come and make a claim. So we don't have a connect with the customer. Only time when we connect the customer is when the policy becomes due for renewal, so after a year, or at the time of claim, which is hardly a population. So by this, we are trying to connect with the customer on regular basis, which helps us in the retention ratio as well. So we are able to better renew our customers. I will skip this. Yeah. So as I said, there are 4 pillars of safety, security, savings, and convenience. What happens on the safety side? There is a feature which is called geofencing. I'm going to show a demo as well. I won't bore you with all this text, so I will show the real demo of the application. So there is geofence where you can define a boundary on your mobile app or on your desktop, and as soon as your vehicle crosses or goes out of that boundary, you get an alert for that. So for example, if you are going on a holiday for a long time to outside area, then what could happen that you can define a boundary on your vehicle or home, and as soon as if something wrong happens with your car, you immediately get an alert on your mobile phone. There is a priority 24/7 roadside assistance. So in today's scenario, if you have to avail a 24/7 assistance, you have to call the customer care, explain him that, I was traveling, let's say, for example, Delhi to Jaipur, and probably I left Delhi in about, 15 minutes back. I don't know exactly where I am. But with this application, you need not to call even the customer care. You just press a button on your mobile. The assistance services will know exactly what your coordinates are, and they will call you back to understand what's the exact problem is, and they will come to help you. Then coming to security, safety. So there is engine and battery alert. I will talk in my demo. Savings. So this application monitors the driving behavior and provides some tips on your driving behavior. So if you are doing too much variation in your speed, which as an individual we don't come to know when we are driving. But this app gives you an indication that if you improve on these 4 points, you can improve your efficiency and you can save the fuel. Similarly, as I said, good customers can save up to 30% of the premium when it comes to the renewal. I will skip this. What I will do, I will, rather than showing this, I will directly show you the demo. So can we move to demo, please? So I've got this application on my mobile, and I'm going to project it on the laptop and show it how does it work. Okay, so this is my mobile screen which you are seeing there. This is our application which is called Insurance Wallet. Once I go Insurance Wallet, you can see a icon which is Drive Smart. I go inside Drive Smart. This is here which are various things which you can see. So what it tells us that today the car has been driven for 32 minutes. The car traveled 14 kilometers and approximate fuel on this journey has been 69 rupees. Then what happens, I can go into my car, I go into summary. It tells me about the battery and engine health. So you can see as of now the battery is showing 14.2 volt, it's in good condition. There is no error in the car, so this device goes into the OBD2 port of the car. And if there is any error code which is thrown back by the car, then that can be displayed over here. So that helps the customer to take the preventive maintenance rather than things becoming worse. Then if I go, I can see where my car is as of now. So my car currently it's in Pune, I am coming from there. So my car is there in Pune. I can share the location of my car through WhatsApp or any social media, and someone can click on that link and know where I am exactly. Then in terms of today's summary, this is the top stats. So maximum distance traveled in a day since I took this Drive Smart platform. How much maximum time spent in a day. So some of the statistics about this. You can see on the graph how much you have driven in last 7 days. So in 1 week, how much you have driven. You also will be compared with other similar cars on the platform. So the bottom thing which says this week's average, it compares the similar cars on the Drive Smart platform and how does your average compare with the other drivers on the platform. And service recommendations. Location sharing, this is another thing. So where what I can do, let's say, this is again a typical use case. I am going to pick someone up. I left my home and the person keep calling me, where you are, I am waiting for you. So rather than doing that, you decide, it might take me about 15-20 minutes. So for 30 minutes, I can generate a link. So I generate a link. And what happens, then I can share this link again through WhatsApp, email or anything, and this is like Ola Uber kind of thing where you can track the exact location of the car where it is, and you know how far you are, and there could be various use cases for those. So there was a static location sharing and there is a dynamic location sharing. Then fuel, this is again one of the good features. I have to turn on my location for this. So let's say if you are traveling to a new city and you don't know about the fuel pumps which are there, what you can do, you go here and it's taking time. Let me click it again. Somehow it's not working as of now. But what happens on this, you can show the HP fuel petrol pump over there. So based on your GPS location, all the nearest petrol pump which are in your vicinity, those will be shown over here. You can do the navigation to the fuel pumps. You can also see what is the diesel and petrol rate at that point of time on this particular petrol pump, whether the petrol pump has got ATM and other facilities or not, that can be seen over here. So this is only the HP petrol pumps which are available over here. I will go into the settings. So what happens in settings, you can set various alarms. So let's say as a parent, you are worried that when your son or daughter are driving the car, you don't want them to drive at 100 or 120 kind of speed. So what you can do, you can set an alarm or set a speed alert over here. So let's say I set it to 81. So whenever car goes beyond 81 km/h, you get a notification on your mobile app. You also get a email alert on your email. Similarly, there are various alerts. So whenever engine is started, you get an alert. Whenever you do race acceleration, you get an alert. The geofence I was talking about, so geofence is on this, boundary. You define a boundary on the mobile app, and whenever car goes outside or inside of this boundary, you get an immediate alert. So that's the safety and security feature of this. And all these alerts can be seen over here. You can put a filter by date, you can see. So what you can see is, for example, this over speed was done. So the speed limit set was 60, and at this point, the car moved to beyond 60, which is 62 km/h. So that kind of alerts can be seen over here. Then moving to analytics. In analytics, as I was saying, this application collects the data, sends it back on the cloud, the data is processed over there, and then a driving score is calculated. Based on this score, what it shows, idling is good, only 4% idling. Wrong gear is about 14%, which is also decent. But there is lot of speed variance. So if this particular driver, if he improves on his speed variance, probably he can improve on his fuel efficiency. And that also tells you how much fuel is spent on this vehicle in last 1 week. So on top you can see it's data from 19th Feb to 25th Feb, how much fuel was spent and how much was the saving. So this saving is not the absolute saving per se. If you drive less, you will spend less fuel. But this saving is with respect to your driving behavior. So if you would have driven the same mileages which you drove last week, how much would have been your saving because of change in your driving habits? That is what it tries to show. I go to trends. It tells your driving score, so how your economic score has been moving from 1 week to another week, how much has been your fuel spend week on week, how much has been your fuel efficiency week on week. So you can see it over here. In analytics report, you can generate a report for a defined time period. I already have some report which are generated, so let me click on one of them. So what it tells you for this particular duration. So this is like generated on this from 2nd Jan to 3rd of Jan. The car drove about 8% in gear 2, 36% in gear 3, 34% in gear 4 and 16% in gear 5. And this has been the driving speed variation, and then there are other driving score and other things. So in a way we are trying to engage with the customer, so not just saying that you put in the device and you get a less premium 1 year down the line. People are not going to use that. So we are trying to create an engagement around this. Coming to trips, this is something which I really like. So what it can do is I can track each and every activity which are done by my car. So I click on this. Yeah. So I click on Thursday. So it shows me starting and end point of my car, how much is the distance traveled, what was the average speed, what was the top speed. And similarly, I can see it, historically as well. So 1 month back, what was done by the car, I can see it over here. And then there is another thing which is my trips. Over here, I can generate the customized report. So if I want a report for a week or for 2 days or like a month, it can be generated by my trips, and daily activity shows the daily activity. And then another thing I was showing is the 24/7 assistance. So if car breaks down, what user has to do is just press this button. This button will directly connect to the roadside assistance partner of the Bajaj Allianz. They will get your coordinates. They already know your number. You get a request number over here, and immediately you get a call back in terms of what kind of assistance you need. And knowing your location, they will be quick enough to send the services which are required. So this was a quick demo, and I'm just running short of time. So just to end this session, I would like to just play a video to end the session. Can we have the video, please?
These days, I manage everything on my smartphone.
And I'd often wonder, when would I be able to do the same with my car? But just the other day, when I renewed my car insurance, I was introduced to the Bajaj Allianz Drive Smart. Plug and play and get all the information you need about your car at your fingertips? Well, to be honest with you, I initially thought it was a bit gimmicky. But when I started seeing improvements in my driving, thanks to DriveSmart's valuable tips, I really started to take notice. Now, I not only keep up my driving score, but also save money. As a parent, I always want to ensure my child is safe. I thought giving my daughter a phone would solve that. But you know, kids these days, always lost in their phones. So just the other day, when the driver went off the usual route, DriveSmart immediately sent me a notification. A quick phone call and I was able to make sure that everything was okay. And then of course, you always wonder who to call when you've run out of luck. But now, I've found my forever friend in need. Battery, engine or fuel problem? With DriveSmart it's no problem. A couple of taps and a no priority assistance is on its way. I gotta say, these guys really take the whole relationship beyond insurance quite seriously. And the best part is, I'm still in tune with the joy of driving. Always having a ton of fun along the journey. I am driving smart and I've never looked back since. When will you?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adarsh, for introducing us to this smart technology solution which ensures your safety, security, cost efficiency, and also helps you to drive better. Checks on your driving skills also. Just wanted to ask you that you extend this service only if someone buys the insurance cover from Bajaj Alliance? Or